Good evening. Welcome to Larry Rinker Golf Live. I'm pleased to be joined this evening by the director of golf at the Seminole Golf Club, my old-time friend, Mr. Bob Ford. How you doing, Fordy?
I'm great, Rink. Hope you are, buddy.
Well, I'm doing well. I'm here in Winter Park, Orlando for about 19 more days and getting ready to head to the mountains in Vail, Colorado on June 1st. So season's kind of winding down for those of us here in Florida. And your season is winding down at Seminole. What a great week last week with the Walker Cup at Seminole. The American team was victorious, led by my old buddy Nathaniel Crosby. Quite an event, Bob, and I really felt like Seminole really shined last week. You know, I'm a huge fan of Donald Ross. He's my favorite architect. The Crenshaw Coeur people came in a few years ago and made some changes, and I think Donald Ross would be pretty happy with what Ben Crenshaw and Bill Coeur did.
Well, I hope so, Rink. You know, we hit a home run. We don't feel like there's anything that we missed or we should have done different. And, you know, you got a combination of great weather, some southeasterly breezes down here in Florida. The golf course was in impeccable condition. Nelson Caron, as our new superintendent, did an incredible job. And you know, and it was a good match. You know, it was close. It was a one match, one way or the other. Really was going to control the outcome. And so we, you know, our hope was that they would get to play 17 and 18 in the matches, and
Right.
a number of them did. And so everybody got to see 17 and 18, which is, you know, kind of the meat of the golf course there right at the end of it. And we just couldn't be more pleased, Rink.
Well, I remember I got to have some drinks with Pete Dye and Alice Dye down in the Dominican Republic over 30 years ago. And I remember Pete Dye said he always felt like if he had the wind blowing left to right for a right-handed golfer, that always made the hole much more difficult. And with that southeast breeze coming off the Atlantic Ocean, 17 and 18 play into that left to right wind. And that 17th green is pretty diabolical. I mean, how many balls stayed on that green on Sunday in the singles matches?
I think it was 3 for 20. It's really hard. Nathaniel said he had one player that could hit a draw with his irons, and that's not good. You know, you really have to be able to draw it in there like you did when we played, and really hit a perfect golf shot to keep it on that green. It's really difficult.
No, I think you're right. You have to have the correct shape, and boy, what do you have? Maybe 15 feet, 20 feet, you can hit it in left to right to keep it on that green. That's about it.
Pretty tough. And, you know, and the green's so slick and the grain's going to the right, and, you know, the wind just blows the balls in the bunker if it doesn't have the right spin on it.
So what are your takeaways from last week? I mean, it's really, you know, USGA, the Walker Cup's been going on for many, many years. A lot of the future stars that we're going to see in the next 10 or 20, 30 years, some of them played last week. And who are the people that you saw last week that you think are going to be the next stars on the PGA and European tours?
Well, you know, from our standpoint, the American team, this Pearson Coody, who was the #1 ranked amateur in the world, he's the real deal. He's Charlie Coody's grandson, and he's going to be a star. I think Davis Thompson, who goes to Georgia, played so well at Winged Foot last year, is going to be a star. Tyler Strafassi, obviously the U.S. amateur champion, he's out there. I think he played in the Byron Nelson today, Rink, and shot a couple under as a professional. Yeah, he turned pro already. Cole Hammer is definitely going to be a tour player. He's really good. And, you know, a number of them. One kid that really impressed me on the other side was John Murphy is really good. And Fitzpatrick's brother, Alex, is really a nice looking player. And
you're leaving out my Gator, Castillo.
Oh, Ricky, yeah.
He went 4-0.
He's only a sophomore. He's certainly going to be a superstar. No, he was great. Yeah, he's really good. Really.
It was funny how they were, you know, everybody on Twitter, they were thinking they were mispronouncing it. it should be Castillo, but he's from Thailand. And
Ah,
Dan Hicks posted on Twitter, hey, he said it's Castillo. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
as a boy,
You're a starter for the majors for the US Open. So, there's some names you got to put a little time in so you say them correctly, right?
oh, I work hard at that, Rink. I'll tell you another kid from England, this Angus Flanagan. He played
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
He could be a star. I think he's a senior too, so we'll hear more from him.
Well, we definitely saw some very courageous shots. There was definitely a time on Sunday where GB and I was making a run, and they were putting some heat on the Americans, and then the Americans turned the tide and won some holes and got the job done. But as you said, it was a very close match. A lot of players were sick all week. I don't know if it was food poisoning or stomach flu or whatever it was that they got. But you were saying before we started the show that a lot of the Europeans weren't even able to play golf the last 3 months. So pretty amazing. GB and I made such a good run and put up such a good fight when so many of their players have hardly played golf in the last 3 months.
Well, it really is kind of amazing. And I'll tell you, Rank, the Walker Cup is just a really neat fraternity of players. They have a Walker Cup society that goes to all the matches. They all played Friday together, Thursday and Friday.
Oh, really?
They did, and they all go to the opening ceremonies and get recognized. And Jay Siegel was there, Curtis Strange was there. A lot of the former players come back and support the matches. It's a really, really special event. I'm really, it's one of the great events that I had the honor to be at and to host. So I would do that again in a heartbeat. That was really neat.
Well, I remember when we were younger, and it was always, you look at those first team All-Americans in college, and then you think of the 10 players that make a Walker Cup team. I mean, that is in the amateur ranks. That's the holy grail, to be able to represent your country. And, it's pretty neat. These guys are young, but you look at the players throughout the history, whether it was Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods, and we can go even further back, that have played in these Walker Cup matches. So, it's such a great event, and to have it at a holy ground like Seminole is pretty special. It's kind of neat. In 2 years, it's going to be at Cypress Point. So with the smaller galleries, it's kind of neat that they can have them at these really quaint little clubs that very few of us get to play.
Well, it is. And I'll tell you, the USGA just did a fantastic job, led by Robbie Zalesnik and his team, setting the whole deal up, and the trophy club, the food and beverage operation. I mean, the shuttles, the parking, everything, which just couldn't have been handled more professionally. And my hat's off to the USGA.
Well, Bob, you and I have been friends a long time. I have to say, your 3 S's, and I've got to look up 2 of them. I only remember the one. I've saved it on my phone now. When we get old, I got to write stuff down or put it on my phone so I can remember.
I'm with you.
I think one was stay on your feet. And I know one, store the pivot. And there was one other S that you had.
Straighten your right arm.
Straighten the right arm.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I posted a video in the last week. I've been doing these reels on Instagram, doing these 30-second and under videos, and being friends with Mike Malaska, who's the worldwide director of instruction for the Nicklaus Golf Academies. And I've actually been around Jack. You've been around Jack and seen Jack do clinics. And it was interesting to me that there were 4 things that Jack has said that really are upper core swing traits. And the one is, he talked about getting the right hip out of the way. So turning that right hip. And if you look at Jack, he didn't move much laterally in his backswing. He talked about keeping his back at the target as long as he could. How long? As long as he could. And he said And he said that gave his arms room to swing. And the last one he said was he felt like got that club going right from the top. And it's pretty interesting. We see it all the time. Tour players we see Tiger Woods that gets stuck. And I think a lot of people misconstrue stuck. They think the club's coming too much from the inside. But to me, 40, stuck is when the body rotation gets ahead of the arms in the club. And I think that's why Jack said when he kept his back at the target, his arms could swing. Whereas if you turn early and get ahead of the ball, your arms have nowhere to go, do they?
Rink, you're spot on, buddy. You're right on the money. Absolutely.
But I love your store of the pivot. You just feel like you keep that chest there as you let the club go by. I'm going to share this screen here. This is really the swing the club head past the body. So you've been saying, I love it. I tell my students, I have a lady out west in Colorado who her and her husband used to be members at Oakmont, George Middlemoss. And, I said to her, Sherry, his wife, I said, store the pivot, Bob Ford. So keep that. Now, it's not going to stay there. It's just a feeling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And so there's my arms coming in, rotating. There I am, square in the face. Look, is the club past the left arm there, 40? No.
That's perfect.
That's a supported strike, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And I get a kick out of people say, well, you're a flipper, Rinker. Look at that right there. You flipped it. Well, that's just me creating speed with the arms, hands, and wrist. And then that momentum brings me around to the finish. And I just think so many people, especially us older folks, if we just make that better turn and store that pivot and let the club swing and figure out how to use our arms, hands, and wrists to swing the club, it can get pretty simple, can it, 40?
Well, you make it sound simple, Rink, and watching you swing the golf club, it makes it look awfully simple. When people get down on their knees and hit a golf ball, just using their hands and arms, and they hit it pretty darn far doing that too.
Right. Well, there is still traction with the knees. So we've got to give the ground force a little traction because, I'm in a swivel chair here. So if I didn't have any traction, I'd go this way and then body go the other way if I didn't have traction in the ground.
Right.
So with the knees, there is some traction, but nothing what we can do with our feet. Our old friend Bob Toski always said, hey, there's only two things touching something: the hands touching the club and the feet touching the ground. And, so much of, unfortunately, golf instruction has been focused on the big muscles. And to me, this premise that the big muscles control the little muscles, how does that work with the beginner, 40?
Well, I think it works pretty good. I actually love teaching beginners. You teach them how to use their hands and arms, and pretty soon they can get smacking it pretty good.
But my point is, if you're just telling what to do with their big muscles and you never help them understand what they're trying to do with the club, with their arms, hands, and wrist, it might not work out real well. And I find, and you may concur with this, but I find that with the newer golfers, there is a little bit of a learning curve of learning how to use the arms, hands, and wrist to hit a golf ball.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, you'll be interested. Now, I played with your buddy Butch Harmon today down at Seminole.
You did?
I did. Yeah, he comes in every year. He's a member up at Floridian. He designed the par 3 course up there, which he loves to talk about, and it's really neat, by the way. But he plays in an invitational up there with his buddy from Indianapolis, Dr. Jeff, and they have a ball. And we always play Seminole the day before, and he's just, as you know, he's just a piece of work. Love being with him.
So what is he talking about when he's got to be talking something? He's a Harmon. I mean,
he's always talking. Yeah, he's always talking. Yeah, he's on a roll all the time. But he doesn't travel anymore. He feels like he's aged out a little bit. He's 77 now, but he's like, look, I never used a TrackMan in my life. My eyes are my TrackMan. I don't need TrackMan out there. and he, obviously down on a lot of the current teaching. And his dad, as you know, was just such an iconic figure, and U.S. or a Masters champion, and finished third at Winged Foot in the U.S. Open. He was a great player, and Seminole's golf professional back in the '50s. So, but he was a pretty simple teacher, and Butch says, don't talk a lot. Just a couple things that can help, and don't confuse. He said you got to talk like a second grader could understand what you're saying. Just throw out all the big words, make it simple, and just keep going. So he's had a lot of success.
No, he has. And the one thing I love about his students is you can't tell who's working with them.
Right.
They're all different.
Exactly.
I had Billy Harmon on this show a few weeks ago, and he said, well, you could walk down the range at a tour event and watch somebody swinging, and said, oh, that guy's working with so-and-so. And then another guy, oh, that guy's working with so-and-so. And then he says, well, Scott McNeely, well, who's he work? Oh, he's working with Butch. Oh,
that's right.
But you can't really tell. But, it's interesting you say that about making it as simple as a second grader. I remember several years ago, Hank Haney used to have a show after me on Sirius XM, and I got this text from him after my show, and he said, Larry, if I don't understand what you're talking about, who does? And he said, that's what made Bob Tosky and John Jacobs so great, is they spoke in a language that everyone understood. And that was just a great life lesson from Hank. It was really about, hey, it's not dumbing it down. It's just saying it where it's simple and people understand it. And I tell my students all the time, and I bet you do the same thing, the less I change about what they do, the better. Because at the end of the day, we all have to own our swings. And I think the most important thing is we got to own our release. We got to understand what we're doing. Shaft parallel to the ground, pass the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can't make do it in a little swing, how are you going to do it in a big swing?
No, I agree with that. And how many times have you said to somebody, hey, can you hit that wedge like 60, 70 yards, and they still hit 120?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, but I agree with you. Butch has been really unbelievable through the years with what he's done and all the players he's helped. You look at what he's done with Dustin Johnson, and then, I don't really know what he's done with Jordan Spieth other than maybe try and help Jordan find Jordan. But, I think that's really all we really try to do with people is help them find themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, well, Jordan's doing pretty good. Did a little 9 under today down at the Byron Nelson.
Well, sounds like he's back. He's had some top 10s. He's got that victory. It's pretty neat to see him come back. And, I think, this is going to be a pretty good year for him. And, it's pretty neat that, you look at somebody like Ricky Fowler, who has been an incredible player, but somebody that's not playing his best golf now. And, so what do you think it is? You've been through ups and downs in your swing. I've been through it. I think it's a lot of times it's just, we got one part of what we're trying to do that doesn't match up for us, and can be something pretty simple, but you get a little off and you lose a little confidence, and, now you got to claw your way back. And I love what Paul Azinger said about confidence. It's something, when you have it, you think you're never going to lose it. And when you lose it, you think you're never going to get it back, and it has to be earned.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think, players like Ricky and you and I, Rick, when we get to going bad, I think it's really just the sequence of the motion that gets out of rhythm. And
right.
There's no real magic to fixing it. You just, you got it, like Hogan said, you got to dig it out of the dirt, figure it out.
Well, I think a lot of old school guys, if they were hitting kind of high handle blocks, they went out in the range and just hooked it.
Exactly.
And then when they went to make what's kind of their normal, they neutralized it. And if they got hooking it too much, what'd they do? They go hit cuts.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then when they made their swing, they neutralized it. Well, now we know a lot more, and we've got flight scopes and TrackMans that can measure path and club face. And so we can kind of keep an eye on it better and know it. But it really is as simple as the old school guys, what they used to do.
It's no different, Rank. You know, you got different technology, but I mean, at the end of the day, the X's and O's don't change.
No. And, it's, that's why, when you see a shot maker's golf course like Seminole, it's really great. And I remember a good lesson my brother Lee gave me one time. We were in New Orleans and I wasn't hitting it well. And he said, just hit some shots, hit me a low draw, hit me a high cut, get back into shot making and making the ball do what you want to do. And I thought that was a great lesson my brother gave me.
Yeah, well, he was an awfully good player, still is an awfully good player.
Yeah, he certainly is. So 40, you're retiring. You're hanging up. You were the director of golf 37 years at Oakmont.
Yes, sir.
And how many years now at Seminole?
21.
21. How old were you when you took the helm at Oakmont?
25.
25. I'm not going to ask you how old you are now, but anyway, what a career. And your legacy is all the great people that have worked for you, that you have helped in their life, that have had great jobs at some of the most prestigious clubs in this country. I really don't know of any other golf professional that has the lineage that you do of the golf professionals that are at great clubs across this country.
Well, there are a bunch of guys out there that I rank that I would challenge you on that have done some great things, but it's certainly been one of the things I'm most proud of, all those guys. And I'll tell you, it was easy for me to delegate to them all the responsibilities because they were so much better at it than I was. I just happened to be the orchestra leader and let them do things, and they build their confidence. A lot of guys suffocate the guys that work for them. They don't let them do anything, and it's kind of just not healthy for that guy, that's trying to grow and trying to learn. If you don't get in the deep end, you don't figure out how to swim. So I throw my guys in the deep end pretty good, and most of them come up swinging and swimming. And I look forward to spending some time going around the country and visiting those guys, which I haven't really had the time to do. And I keep my hand in the search business for superintendents, managers, and golf professionals. And that's been a fun part of what I'm trying to, move into as I move into retirement.
Well, your search is AMF. That's why I have a job out at Red Sky in Colorado. So that's what you started with. Now you have a new group that's doing the same thing, but really, again, you're helping PGA professionals find great jobs, and you're continuing to do that, and it's it's pretty neat. But I gotta say, every golf club needs a leader, and they need somebody that comes in and says, okay, here's how we're going to do things. There's a lot of gray areas being a golf professional. There's a lot of situations you can get in where you got two people and you're going to make one happy and one mad by the decision you make. And you just got to trust your gut and do the right thing, don't you?
Exactly. Just do what's right. You can't play favorites. You got to calling balls and strikes. It's within the rules, and just stay true to your, to how you feel about it.
Yeah. And it's, it's a tough position for golf professionals that, because you might tell that guy can't play 5. He doesn't understand that you've already told 2 other people they couldn't play 5. And now that guy gets on the board and he's got an axe to grind because he feels like you didn't help him out when he wanted to, but for the most part, 40, you've had a lot of great members at both clubs. You've got lifelong friendships with them. You've got lifelong friendships with all the people that work for you and all the fellow golf professionals you've gotten to know through the years. And I really wish you well in your retirement. I think you can probably be playing a lot of golf and enjoying your golf. Do they have any like super senior events you can play in?
Oh, no, you can't give away my age like that. Come on, right? You're beautiful.
There's got to be something, for the over 65 crowd,
I know. Yeah, well, that's super senior. Yeah, I'll keep trying to play. We all love to play and love to compete and keep our hands in it. It's a great game. Wouldn't have great friends like you if it wasn't for golf, pal.
No, I agree. And, I just think, that's really one of the great things about golf is camaraderie and the people you meet, the friendships you make, and you get to share life together. Well, Larry Rinker Golf Live is on Thursday nights. This is the last show of season 1. I'm going to be running reruns here the next few weeks, or really for quite some time. My new book is out. The Journeyman. Bob Ford wrote a nice testimonial for me. Appreciate that, Bob. There is Bob Ford, my guest tonight. And he's retiring on May 31st. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Titleist FootJoy, the Ritz-Carlton Golf Club Orlando, and the Red Sky Golf Club in Vail, Colorado. Also, Right Balance and Flight Scope. 40, always great to have you on my shows, whether it was Sirius XM or here on Facebook Live. I really appreciate you taking care of my son Devin and I, getting to come down and play Seminole in December. Growing up in Stuart, Florida, that's holy ground for me. So I wish you all the best, my friend, in your retirement.
Frank, don't be surprised. I come out there at Red Sky. I'll knock on your door, buddy.
Well, we'll find a place for you to stay, and we'll get you out on the golf course, and I'll check that beautiful swing years out and that beautiful bunker game you have. I mean, gee whiz, I want to just film it so I can learn something. It's really good.
Just means I'm a lousy iron player.
Well, we saw a lot of balls that ended up in bunkers at Seminole last week that most places wouldn't end up in a bunker. But anyway, well, folks, it's been great. Season 1 of Larry Rinker Golf Live. I wish all of you the best. Thanks for listening.